Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We are here to plug you in to the world of professional wrestling. I'm Keeney and I'm joined today.
Hello. Sorry, your
Right.
internet. I couldn't hear you then for a second. Hopefully it doesn't continue throughout the video because that's not a good start. But right, we're both here today. We'll just talk about Raw and SmackDown. Literally just finished Raw not long ago, so fresh in the mind. So I thought we'd do a video now and talk about SmackDown a bit as well. Just the highs and lows, really, the best bits and the worst bits from the shows from the last few days.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to start with SmackDown?
Yeah, let's start with SmackDown and talk about the
big talking points.
Yeah, so the big talking point really is that most of the show was about the World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, we had that on Raw last week. And here we got the continuation of that. Obviously, Seth Rollins had already won the Raw side, and it was time to see who was going to win on SmackDown. 2 triple threats in the main event. And we got the first main triple threat was Edge, AJ Styles, and Rey Mysterio, which was a stacked lineup. And then we got Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, and Sheamus in the next one. I think they could have done this a bit differently in terms of who was with who here, because Lashley and Theory in the same match again, I was like, oh God. But
yeah,
we did get 2 good matches, and the first one in particular I thought was great. What was your thoughts on the 2 triple threats first before we talk about the main event?
Yeah, really good. I think you make a good point about they could have split up the people in the matches a bit. A bit surprised to see Edge take the pin in the first one after on his first match on SmackDown.
I thought Styles might win or Edge might win and then get beat in the final. But yeah, I was surprised by that.
Yeah, that was just a bit of a shock to me. But the first match definitely the better one. The second one, I remember who Lashley won the second one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he cut his head open.
I think. Yeah, he did bust his head open. I also, talking about that, I don't think Theory should have been in the tournament, to be honest. Putting the US title in there, unnecessary.
Yeah.
Why not give the space to LA Knight, honestly? Even if he doesn't have to win it, just give him the match. Put him in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a bit of a strange one, but probably the 2 right winners.
Yeah,
I think AJ and Lashley go into the final makes sense. And I guess the actual match they had in the end was a really good one, and it felt a really fresh match as well, which I think's important after the draft.
And I like matches on TV having stakes, so it felt important. They had a decent match. He had a celebration at the end with the OC when AJ won, and it sets up AJ versus Rollins, which we've only ever had once before at Money in the Bank. I think it was 2019 or 18, and it was fantastic. Obviously. So we get a repeat of that, which I don't think anyone will be complaining about.
Yeah.
So, all positive there. My only nitpicks are, I wouldn't have had Theory in the match. And if you are going to have him in the match, I definitely would have had him with Lashley because they've wrestled too much. There was a bit of a botch spot between Edge and Rey in one of the matches.
That was funny, that one.
But the rest of the match was really good. And there was so many what I liked is there was a lot of 3-man spots in it as well. Really good way to fill TV matches, matches with stakes, tournaments. And you've got your top stars in the ring. I know on our last podcast we did together, we criticised the fact that I think it was just you actually, but I agreed with you, that they SmackDown people in the tournament. And I do still think it's unnecessary. However, it did give it a big time feel when the likes of Edge and Lashley and Rey and AJ all want this title and they're fighting for it. So there is a positive to that. I'm really looking forward to the match of Night Champions. So
it will be great. Just one quick question on this tournament is you made a point about it filling up TV time with high stake matches that mean something, including your top stars. Could you not have spread out a bit more rather than having both finalists determined on one night. Now they've got 2 weeks of trying to build up. I feel like you could have spread it over 3 weeks.
I think they should have done the 2 triple threats on the same show. One as the main event, one of the opener on both Raw and SmackDown. Not done the finals though. So then you could have done Balor versus Rollins and Styles versus Lashley this week.
Yeah. And
then the next week you can do a promo to build up the match. And then I do agree with that. I know they're rushing it because Night of Champions is quite soon after Backlash. I get that, but there was time to spread it out a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I just think there's 2 weeks now of. We saw on Raw. There was like a promo from Seth. I'm assuming we're going to get the same from AJ.
Yeah, I guess we might get something on SmackDown from AJ, but I want to see them interact with each other as well. I know they're on separate brands, so I don't know how you're going to do that. But I maybe you can have AJ go on because it's a Raw Championship. Maybe next week's Raw, you can have AJ come to Raw because he could be potentially on Raw if he wins the title. You can get around it, I guess. But yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's an interesting way to build it.
Yeah, it's fine, really.
Yeah.
With AJ, it will have the winner of the tournament he announced before the main event. So the Grayson Waller effect come into the main roster will be great. And he's got previous of AJ, Grayson Waller.
Yes, he has. That's why, to me, actually, it kind of, when they said that the winner was going to go on the Grayson Waller effect, it kind of gave away that AJ was winning, I thought, a little bit. I mean, it wasn't like 100%, but I did think, okay, AJ's probably winning this because of his previous with Grayson Waller. But I love the fact I liked the use of the NXT call-ups, particularly on SmackDown. We can talk about that. That could be a good segue onto that because they had quite a lot of, Grayson Waller, like you said, was used. Cameron Grimes got a squash win over Corbin, which made him look really good, I thought. Obviously it doesn't look a lot for Corbin, but I think we're going somewhere with his character.
Yeah.
We had Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn sort of watching the tag match. We had Pretty Deadly interact with Butch and Ridge, and they're having a match this week. Who else did we have? We had that one. I think there was even more than that. Am I missing something?
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head. But I think in particular, out of those, the standout to me was Cameron Grimes. So I think it's reminiscent to how he came onto NXT. I'm pretty sure he was winning with the cave-in like very quickly into matches. I'm sure there's at least been a few matches where he started a match and just done a cave-in and finished.
Yeah, he has had a few like that,
Yeah, it was set up fairly obviously, I think. Like, honestly, when that match started, I was like, I guarantee you he is caving in and winning within like 3 seconds because Corbin was on the mic saying he's going to beat.
Yeah. When they do that kind of
2 minutes,
like
it was quite obvious. But
it's like when I remember Natalia like belittling Aaliyah, and then Aaliyah rolled her up and pinned her in 3 seconds. It was just like it was similar to that. I think it's really made Grimes look good. I wonder what they were going to do because I thought there was so much big stuff happening on SmackDown with the World Heavyweight title, Roman returning. I was like, how are they even fitting this match in? Yeah, that's the way to do it. Just have a quick squash, and Cameron Grimes can brag about that. I think we'll get another match between them potentially, but
it's not a bad first thing for Grimes to be doing. I think. I just think SmackDown in general it just feels so fresh. I don't know why Lashley on there just makes everything feel fresh. And I just think
Raw really did this week as well with
Raw did actually,
with some of the new NXT call-ups, some of the people that have come across on SmackDown. It has got a very fresh feel about it.
The draft is taking effect now, and it's looking good. This
is
what we want from the draft.
The way the rosters are looking now.
Yeah, agreed. Well, you mentioned Roman.
Yeah.
Came out with the Bloodline and basically forced the Usos to apologize to him for losing at WrestleMania main event and then losing their rematch as well. And I liked the angle of him saying, "Why did you dedicate it to me when we've got other tag teams in the family? And you're embarrassing my name, and it's like, how dare you dedicate it to me?" And then the twist from Heyman that the match at Night of Champions is going to be Roman and Solo against KO and Sammy.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I was not expecting that. And I don't really know how they don't win unless the Usos cost them.
Well, I don't think they will win, personally. They could, but I just think putting the right tag titles on Roman Reigns would be ridiculous.
But you haven't had Solo or Roman get pinned, like, ever.
No, Solo's only been pinned once, but I think the fact that Roman then dedicated the next match to Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans, and he said they're the greatest tag team ever. I think the Usos are definitely costing them. And then because Roman's dedicated the match to them, that's going to put him over the edge. And that will probably, when the turn finally happens, whether it's accidental costing or deliberate, I don't know. I think it'll probably be accidental. I think they're trying to interfere on Roman's behalf, and it'll backfire. And then I'm torn between who should take the pin here. In a way, Roman taking the pin would make it even bigger. Like, if he gets pinned but then also it's the fact of, like, it's Roman Reigns, he never loses, he never gets pinned. So really, I think you have Solo take the pin, probably. And he can take one pin off of, like, a distraction or something.
Yeah, he can, yeah.
And if it's the Usos' fault, Roman will blame the Usos, not Solo anyway. So that, I think, look around it. They could win, but the problem with him winning, obviously, is then what do you do with the tag titles? Because he doesn't defend that. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute. He's not defending the main title, which I think he should be doing as well. But then to have the tag titles on part-timers as well would really not be good for the tag division.
Well, I do think, by the way, just
tag belts.
Yeah.
But, I think, and I don't think KO and Sammy should lose yet either. So I think the way to book this match is to have Sammy or KO pin one Solo.
Yeah. I think that makes the most sense, I think. And I think that's another byproduct of this SmackDown participants in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament is the SmackDown top card are focusing on the Raw Championship right now. So no one is focused on Roman's title on SmackDown.
Yeah, and that's my main criticism of this. I love the angle for the fact of Roman and Solo want to get it done because the Usos can't. I love all that story. Yeah. That's brilliant. But Roman not defending his championship and there being no one on SmackDown to really go for it because they're all going for the Raw title is not good. Yeah, he should be defending his title, really.
Yeah. Could you not have had Roman? You could have had Seth v. Who got to the final on Raw? Balor. Finn Balor. Seth v. Balor at Night of Champions for the Raw title, and then you could have had AJ versus Roman for the Universal Heavyweight title. And then
that would have made more sense. And then you could have spanned that off into, the Usos then could have battled the OC.
Yeah.
Lost to the OC or something if you want to further the tension. Like, make sure you stop. I mean, obviously, I get that probably Roman, there's no jeopardy really on that, but like that's why this is interesting, because I think Roman and Solo have to lose to really piss Roman off. And then I'm intrigued because the next pay-per-view is Money in the Bank. If we do get a turn happen soon, we could get a huge match at Money in the Bank with the Bloodline involved, which we'll see. I mean, imagine if we up Roman and Solo versus the Usos or something. I don't think we'll get that, but imagine if we did.
You never know, do you? You never know.
So it's going to be very interesting what happens. I really like the story of him getting Paul Heyman and the way they delivered the lines. I mean, Roman was so good here. I mean, we've already discussed it, but you said, Roman is incredible. This storyline, like, we weren't particularly interested in it post-Mania, but then Roman comes and suddenly it's like, it's great again.
It goes from a story I don't care about to being the most important thing in wrestling. Just the click of Roman turning up. He transcends anything at the moment. I don't know what I don't really know how he's doing it, but he is just the most elite person in wrestling right now. It's incredible.
Yeah. There's only a couple of other things really from SmackDown that we're worth talking about. They were in the women's division, so we've got a tag team title match with Damage Control versus Liv Morgan and Raquel. More tension between Damage Control with Bayley knocking Io off the ring apron, and then Liv pinned Bayley to win and retain the titles. Liv picked up an injury in this match, which we'll get to when we talk about Raw.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But I don't think it's serious. I don't think they would have ran the angle they ran, or if it was. So
yeah.
that was fine. And then we also got Asuka and Belair continuing their feud. I just feel like it shows that they haven't built up enough women to challenge for the title instead of doing Asuka again.
Yeah.
Obviously, I liked the angle they did here in the mist, and Bianca's selling of it was fantastic. And I like Asuka a lot, and the match was good the first time, but it does show that with Charlotte Flair not around as well, who's on SmackDown, obviously, I don't think they've quite built enough challengers for, because they did EO, which they've already kind of done the feud with Damage Control, and now they're doing Asuka, and it's just like there's nobody else.
Yeah, and it's just the Raw title feud for Mania carried over to SmackDown, and it's also this angle of her missed in Belair has happened in the build up to Mania. So this is just honestly, it's just a rinse repeat of like a Raw just before Mania. So it's hardly inspiring booking, but we'll see. I mean, they'll have a great match. Of course they will. They had a great match at Mania.
I actually wouldn't mind Asuka winning the title here. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. But no, I think they're quite set on
so long. I think freshening it up by putting a title on Asuka and then giving Asuka some challenges, like some baby faces, maybe as turn it, properly turn her heel, and have her face some sort of newer challengers, I think could be a really good way to go. If not, I don't know who Belair faces after this, because I don't know what other heels are on SmackDown that she could face. I mean, there's no one that, with Charlotte Flair's not around for a while, by the sounds of it, there's nobody else really, other than the Damage Control, who she's already faced plenty of times. So yeah, that is slightly concerning, I would say. I really like the women's division on SmackDown, but they haven't built a lot of them enough. Like Alba Fire and Ida Donovan, who just come over. Like, there's some good women over there. Shotzi's there, some others, but they haven't built half these people enough to challenge for the title. And they've got a similar problem on Raw, which I'm sure we'll probably get to as well.
Well, let's go on to Raw. And the first thing I'll say about Raw is you can tell this is a show booked by Triple H, is my first view, because so much of this show interlinked with itself, and there's so many tangents going on, but there is an underlying story throughout the whole show, and that is factions, I guess, is the story. We have Judgment Day, we have KO and Sammy, and Imperium, which obviously come to head in the main event, where we had Judgment Day against KO and Sammy, which came from the start of the night, where KO and Sammy doing a promo, Judgment Day come down. And there's some interesting bits throughout the show that I will get to, but just the main event, and also the main event angle of having Imperium cost KO and Sammy, seemingly off the back of a chat with Paul Heyman we saw earlier in the night, and he rang Roman. So it looks like Heyman's working with Imperium, and also he's watched a Judgment Day before. These factions, obviously Judgment Day and Imperium is two factions we've not seen together yet. So I think that's a really interesting angle off this. I mean, what did you make of this whole I like what you said about like the interlinking stories of the factions and everything. It is interesting. There feels like there's a lot of big factions on Raw and on SmackDown too. You've got like the LWA over there and stuff, which I do like. And Imperium were all over the show, and I'm all for that. They were brilliant on this show.
Yeah, and obviously Judgment Day were on it a lot as well. They always are. Rhea in particular it felt like everywhere here. And it's really interesting. We'll get to the Battle Royal to challenge Imperium soon, I'm sure. KO and Sammy obviously opened the show. I wasn't expecting Judgment Day to come out. I was thinking they were going to do that match down the line, but then they did the match on the main event of the show. My only criticism is I don't think Balor should have really pinned Sammy, but I guess if you're doing that match, that's another reason, in my opinion, for Sammy and KO to retain their titles, because I think you've already set up their potential next challengers with that match, with Priest and Balor winning there. But yeah, it's interesting. Paul Heyman's role in all of this is so interesting, and it's typical Paul Heyman stuff, and I love it. You know,
He's brilliant. Yeah,
he just does. He always has a plan. He's always there, popping up here, there, and everywhere. You know, and it feels big. And this show felt. We talked about SmackDown feeling fresh. This felt very fresh, and it also made a lot of people feel important. But I'm glad of being showcased. Obviously, Imperium, Judgment Day. Obviously, the tag champ should be important, but also people like Ali, people like Alpha Academy, people
great
like
show for Ali.
JD McDonough, people like, you know, there was people all over this show that were, I thought, showcased really well. And yeah, the match itself, the main event match, was really good. Obviously, with those guys involved, there's quite a bit of shenanigans in there. Xavier Woods even popped out at one point to attack Dom because they had a match on the show.
Yeah.
I was expecting Riddle to come out, but he didn't, because obviously Imperium cost him in the Battle Royal, and I do think it'll probably be Riddle next week because he's already teamed with Sammy and KO before. So it makes sense for it to be Riddle or Ali. I can't see it being anybody else.
Yeah, that's the obvious ones.
So it's set up a 6-man banger for next week. I can't wait to see Kevin Owens and Gunther interact in a match.
There was KO push Gunther.
Yeah,
and, like, the whole crowd was like you know, like.
Yeah, and we're getting that obviously in the 6-man next week. If they get in the ring at the same time, that's going to be, for me, that's like a dream match because that's two of my top. Yeah, two of my very top.
Give me a KO and Gunther like couple of month long feud for the IC title. Yeah, it would be amazing.
Not right now, but
yeah,
really, really interesting stuff with all these factions sort of interlocking.
So you mentioned obviously Dom had a match with Woods, and they were kind of interlinked as well, and then the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the Intercontinental title. I mean, straight away, the participants were quite interesting with like Zion Quinn, and they had Von Wagner, Apollo Crews, JD McDonough.
Yeah, loads of NXT call-ups.
Yeah.
And people also that have come over from SmackDown. You had Riddick Moss with a new sort of gimmick name change. You had all this stuff. It felt very different. I liked it a lot.
And how surprised were you with the winner? Because I was proper shocked.
I was surprised, but not as shocked as I should have been, purely because on Twitter that day I read something about an Ali potential push, and they have done it before where he's been pushed around these Saudi Arabian shows. I know he's not Saudi Arabian, but because Mansoir's got a completely different gimmick going on, I feel like they're like, well, let's just put Ali in this spot because he's sort of from a Muslim community and all that kind of stuff. I feel like they've just shoved him into that instead. So I was surprised a little bit, but I wasn't as surprised as I maybe would have been if I hadn't seen that.
I was really shocked.
But it's cool. I think Gunther versus Ali. I mean, Ali's not going to win, obviously, but that could be a great match. Ali can sell for Gunther like crazy. I really like it. And the Battle Royal was very interesting. There were stories set up in the Battle Royal, which I always like as well. They made use of a lot of the people. There were some people that were just there, but obviously they did stuff with sort of the Maximum Male Models and
Dexter Loomis,
Alpha Academy. They did stuff with the Viking Raiders and
Bronson Reed,
and also Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander at one point. And obviously the big one as well was obviously Riddle with Imperium. Yeah. I thought Riddle might win purely because
I was expecting Riddle.
Because they kept interacting with him, and he's probably the biggest person star-wise in the match. As well. You also had obviously another one was McDonough and Ziggler, which is a feud I'm all for, by the way. That I hope they don't just blow the match off next week and do it. I think you should build that as a story. I think that could be really good.
Yeah, this feels like a kind of typical new call-up first feud, Dolph Ziggler. It's quite standard. But
so, I mean, does Ziggler eliminate McDonough and then Ziggler got eliminated?
McDonough,
and then Ziggler got eliminated like a minute later, and then
then he just attacked him.
Absolutely, just destroyed him on the outside. And he got a little promo later on and a video package on this show. So McDonough had
quite. Did you notice in his backstage thing. Did
Oh.
you see Finn Balor standing on the
Yes,
stairs watching
I did.
over?
I did.
Yeah.
I wondered. Yeah, I forgot about that.
JD to
yeah.
the Judgment Day. I mean,
Yeah.
JD Judgment
That
Day.
wouldn't
It
shock-
works.
It wouldn't shock me at all if they put McDonough in it, because he's kind of got a dark gimmick already. He's basically Finn Balor 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
And
his name's JD. Judgment Day. JD. It just works, doesn't it?
yeah, I didn't even think of that, but yeah.
Yeah, it
right.
just all works.
Him in there would be very good. I don't think they necessarily need another member because they've already got 4. But
yeah,
what I think you could do is have Balor and McDonough as like the tag team of the group. Priest as like push Priest then more as a solo star.
Yeah.
And then obviously Dom and Rhea do their own thing a little bit.
Yeah, Dom's not really a serious member of the team. Like he's not going to challenge for titles, really.
What I love about the Judgment Day, by the way, was a bit of a tangent, but when they were cutting their promo, the reactions to the different reactions to each member of the group. Normally you don't get that. Normally it's like the whole group gets booed, but it's like Balor and Priest get like mild boos, a little bit of boos, a few bit here and there.
Yeah.
Rhea gets cheered and chanted like she's the biggest baby face in the company, even though she's a heel. And then Dominic tries to speak, and it's like unbelievable heat. It's really weird. I love it though. It's good.
I think that's become a thing now, hasn't it?
Their own purpose.
Yeah, just don't let Dom speak now. That's like the new thing.
Yeah,
because the crowd gets so bad. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I loved it. Anyway, where were we going with that?
Yeah, so Ali's the contender to move forward for Night of Champions. Another match.
Explained, by the way, Ali.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Ali's had 2 victories on the last 2 weeks of Raw, so they obviously have.
Yeah, so he has been winning matches. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought like it's a bit mad because when he beat Gable, I was like, oh, Ali's got to win. Then he beat Otis, and I was like, yeah, are they doing something here, or is this just? And that's why I read about like there's a little bit of a push coming for Ali, and I was like, that's good. And then he won the Battle Royal. I was like, okay, he's obviously not winning the title, but it's good for him.
One of the most underused superstars of the last couple of years, Ali. He is so good.
Yeah,
he deserves a lot more.
It's kind of comedy gimmick, but it's good.
Yeah.
There are plenty of other good guys in this as well. Gargano was back in the ring. Good to see him back. Ricochet was obviously in the last 3. The last 3 was Bronson, who looked dominant in the match and had a really good showing. Ricochet and Ali, and then Ali drop kicked Bronson Reed and Ricochet off while he had him on his shoulders.
Nice finish, yeah.
So yeah, there was quite a lot of guys in there who got good showing. I thought it was a good battle royal.
Yeah, it was. We also saw, speaking of new call-ups, Indus Sher, the debut of them. Again, another faction that looked, I know it was only a jobber win, but like Jinder had time on the mic to say, people say they run Raw, but we run Raw. And you just think they're another faction that feel strong. I don't know if I'm just being brought into this.
We'll see where they go when they get an actual feud, because I can see them being the guys that sort of built up a bit and then get beaten by babyface teams like
maybe. But this was a good first night on Raw for Indus Sher, I thought. Much better than I was expecting from them.
Yeah. I don't know who they're going to feud with first. I wouldn't mind them having like a feud with someone like Maximum Male Models, just purely because they're a comedy act and they can just destroy, like they can be like really against their kind of and just beat the crap out of them. And then maybe that leads to a feud with Alpha Academy, which is a bit more serious. Like there's quite a good tag division. Obviously Imperium.
There is a good tag division on Raw, yeah.
There's a good tag division on Raw that they can, Viking Raiders as well. So yeah, there's plenty of teams that you can feud with. Obviously, the New Day when Kofi comes back as well. So, yeah, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of good factions and also tag teams on Raw. But yeah, good first showing for them, and good to see Jinder getting a bit of mic time. I don't think he's going to wrestle as much, but like the fact that he's with them helps them, because I think if they help on their own and they didn't have a recognizable, I know Veer's been on Raw, but it was for about 5 minutes. I don't think anyone. I mean, people probably won't care that much, but like having obviously a former WWE champion in there with Jinder gives them a little bit of credibility as well.
Yeah, definitely. Shinsuke beat The Miz. Nothing special on that. just good to see Shinsuke winning a match.
Yeah, really good to see that.
I kind of hope that's done now for those two.
I
I'm
think
not
it is,
really
actually.
too keen on this feud.
This wasn't actually on the show, and I've only just seen it on the WWE website, but it was a Raw talk where Nakamura got in a confrontation with the Judgment Day. So that's another feud that could maybe interlock. And Balor and Nakamura, that
That could be great.
That's a bit tasty.
Also,
yeah,
just
Nakamura, again, we're talking about presentation of people on Raw. Since Nakamura's moved over, the presentation has been so much better.
It has. It's been brilliant. And there was a thing on commentary which I picked up on in this match where I think Corey Graves said that basically the Miz has been worried about all the factions on Raw and he wants to basically create one of his own. So like they're mentioning the loads of factions on Raw. I think it's a thing they're trying to build and they're trying to make it like, this is Raw's thing, all these big factions. So I wonder whether the Miz will actually create a faction, whether he'll just be the guy, tries to create them and can't.
I think the Miz, when he's had a faction, has been great. So I wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
when he had the Miz Taraj and everything with him back in the day, that was
it's.
really
I think
good.
It's great.
So
and
we've also
another one we've potentially got is the way when rumors of I say rumors. Gargano mentioned last week he'll be back soon. We think about Ciampa. But you have Ciampa, Gargano, Loomis, like there's a little faction there as well, a little face faction. So yeah, there's a lot of factions. And I don't know who the Miz would go with. There's no obvious picks, but
no, there isn't at the moment. But don't know. It could be interesting. There wasn't a lot of. I mean, we'll talk about the women in a minute, I guess. Is there anything else? Oh, let's talk about Cody quickly, actually, first, because he had his promo. Good promo. Not a lot else to say about it. Him and Brock didn't interact on the show. They will be next week.
Yeah.
But obviously, everything Cody does feels big, and his promo is always really good, and he gets a mega reaction. So yeah, there's not a lot else to say. It was kind of understated this week, but
it wasn't. There's nothing groundbreaking he said on this promo that was any different to anything previous, really. It was just kind of saying that he's going to beat Brock, he's beat him, and the Brock's in his way, whatever. So he's still focused on the title, which I think's the right thing to do for Cody. I don't think he should win the title yet, but I think he should be focused on it, and there should be things getting in his way. And he overcomes all the obstacles. Brock being the current obstacle. Next obstacle, I don't know who it's going to be, but there'll be another one. I don't know. Judgment Day, I don't know. There's going to be something coming up. But yeah, pretty good promo. And speaking of like good builds, I think what they did with Seth Rollins on this show was very, very good.
I loved it, actually. I really like it when they do. Obviously, they talked about a lot about history in the past. They showed his NXT title win. Showed his
really
NXT. Showed the Shield, Phil Moxley on the show.
Yeah,
they do try to hide John Moxley's. I hate it when they do stuff like that. Really, and the way they got into it, the things he spoke about, like the need for change, a need for a new world title. Yeah, really, really good stuff. And I like him and Corey. Obviously, they get on in real life. They've got a lot of history. They had good chemistry with this as well. I think he was the right person to do it. So this worked brilliantly and made me want to see Seth win the title. I'd like to see something similar to AJ, but it looks like they're obviously with the Grayson Waller effect, they're going down a slightly different route with AJ. But Seth wasn't on the show, but he was on the show here, and it was still, really good.
And what about the ending of the thing where they were like, okay, and then what do you think about Roman? And then he took his glasses off, and they said continues next week. So he's going to go for Roman next week.
Yeah, I still feel like they're building. Because even when that title, he made digs to Roman, like when he did his promo about the title before he's even in the tournament. I still feel like there's down the line, there's going to be them. I think it could be Survivor Series potentially, because they're on different brands. They could both still be. I mean, you wouldn't put it past Roman still having the belt by then. Right? Seth could win the belt, so there's potential that you could do it there. But I do think there's still going to be. There's got to do that match again at some point. Even if it's not for a title or something.
It feels like a Mania match to me, Seth and Roman.
It does, and I'm surprised they've not done it at Mania yet. I know they did, obviously, he and Seth won Money in the Bank and then
cash in,
but that was in a match with Lesnar. It wasn't, really a Seth Rollins Roman Reigns match as such. But yeah, interesting stuff, definitely.
Yeah, should go into the women's division now.
Yeah,
As we found a new challenger for the tag team belts.
yeah,
So
I
we
wasn't expecting this.
yeah, but it makes complete sense, really, when you think about it. They got drafted to Raw. So Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler.
I forgot they were on Raw.
Yeah,
That was the thing. I completely forgot.
Attacked Raquel on the ramp after Raquel beat Chelsea Green, which was set up backstage earlier. With
there
Liv
was meant to be a
injured.
tag title match, wasn't it? That was what it was meant to be. Liv obviously picked up an injury, but it must be minor because I don't think they would have done the angle with.
Yeah, they
with
wouldn't
Ronda
have
and
set up a
Shayna.
tag title feud with if Liv was long term. I mean, I don't think Ronda's mic work was particularly great here. Again,
I mean, it hardly ever is it?
It was so awkward and just didn't really work for me at all. But I mean, I would rather Ronda spoke as little as possible and just beat people up. That's what I would prefer.
I mean, they did mainly do that here, and then Shayna obviously hit the knee, taking out Raquel. That's obviously going to be a feud. Maybe Night of Champions again. Although Night of Champions card's looking quite big now, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's pretty big, isn't it?
Could be Money in the Bank, that one. Could be Money in the Bank. Because if Liv's injured, they might delay that.
Well, they might just do it on Raw. The women's tag belts, they just do weekly shows.
They might do it. It's just the fact it's Ronda Rousey. It might, they might save it for a pay-per-view. But yeah, that's it's an intriguing feud, and I think we'll probably get new champions as well when it happens, because I just feel like they're going to put the belts. I think they were going to win. They were meant to win them at Mania. I think they were going to win them at Mania, but obviously Ronda wasn't properly cleared, so they just did that little match with Ronda doing one move in the showcase. So I think Ronda and Shayna are destined to win those belts, and probably hold them for ages as well.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And speaking of Night of Champions matches, Becky and Trish.
Yeah,
it's happening at Night of Champions. Not a surprise. Yeah, I guess it's just. I think the contract signing's next week, but it's Becky issued a challenge to Trish.
Really good promo from Becky. It felt like the old style, fired up.
Yeah,
Becky.
serious, angry Becky.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. Pissed off about obviously her talking about her daughter the way she did. Really good promo, and I'm quite looking forward to this match. I think obviously, they like having legends over in the Saudi Arabian show, so I'm not surprised it's happening where it is. It was rumored for SummerSlam, but I didn't think they'd drag it out that far. But yeah, really happy to see this. I think it's a big time match in the women's division that's not got a title on it, which I'm all for because they don't do enough of them.
Definitely.
And obviously you had Rhea and Natalia interact again on this show, so you're setting that up further. There was quite a lot of women's stuff sort of simmering in this match. You had Zoe Stark and Candice LeRae confrontation. That match is happening next week. So there was only one women's match, which was probably not good enough really, but there was quite a lot of women's segments spread throughout the show. Quite a lot of women featured, and you've got
your women's champion involved in most of the show. Like Rhea Ripley is the main thing about
with the women most of the time. Obviously, she had that little bit with Natalia, but
I mean, just as like a slight tangent, what do you think's going on with Nikki Cross? I got because she was just sat looking like crazy, and then Candice LeRae stands up for her.
I don't think they know what's happening because the whole Candice LeRae thing where she was in the crowd was
I thought they were going to do. Is it just going to be a Candice LeRae? No, sorry. Is it just going to be an Indy Hartwell Nikki Cross feud? That's what, because the origins of Nikki Cross, unless I completely misread it, was that Nikki Cross was intrigued by Dexter Lumis, and that's why she was following the way around. And I wonder whether that's going to be a weird mini feud. Is just Indy Hartwell's like, well, he's my Dex, and
they haven't showcased enough of it on TV, or even in on Raw Talk, or where things happen. Because sometimes things happen online or Raw Talk. You see all these segments, and then okay, that makes sense. It's not, they haven't even done anything there. Like I've seen this is a real tangent, but apparently LA Knight's going to be doing a thing with Rick Boogs, a tag team thing, which is a bit weird. But I think it's going to be short. I reckon LA Knight just they'll win a match or we'll lose a match and beat him up, and then it'll be a feud. But I want a bit more for LA Knight. But they did something on. It's not called Talking Smack anymore, was it?
SmackDown Lowdown was
that one. They did something like build things, on there, which is fine because you haven't got time for everything on TV. But I don't think they've even been doing it on there. Like they haven't really done anything for that. So I'm confused where that feud's going. There's some other stuff as well, like the Hurt Business stuff, like just completely dropped. It seemed you kept seeing MVP talking to Shelton and Cedric, like in backstage segments, like behind it. I was like, oh, the Hurt Business, nothing. Like so, there's a few things that have obviously been dropped, which is a shame because I think some of them as well looked good.
Yeah, they do. I think there's rumors, and you've probably got more information than me, but I've seen rumors of Sanity reunion, which could be something they're doing with that Nikki Cross. It's going to be Sanity either way, maybe.
Well, that's what I thought originally when, with the whole Nikki Cross Candice LeRae interactions, because Eric Young is apparently signed to WWE, but he hasn't been, months ago. This was obviously he's not. No one's seen him or heard from him. But apparently,
another faction on Raw.
And Killian Dane, or Big Damo, as he's known on the indie scene, is still wrestling in other companies and doing things. So I don't know if he's imminently coming back because they've also got that hiring freeze at the moment. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't know if they're waiting and they're going to do Sanity eventually. But yeah, it's very strange what's going on there.
I feel like Sanity wouldn't work. I mean, it didn't work that well last time, but with the Judgment Day as like a better version of Sanity, I don't really know if they work that well especially on Raw with Judgment Day.
They'd end up being jobbers.
Because they'd be heel, really. They'd be behind Judgment Day and Imperium, obviously. They'd probably be behind Indus Share, realistically. So like they would feel very, Viking Raiders. Can you call them a faction with Valhalla maybe? Like they're probably below them as well. So they'd feel really bottom of the card. I don't know if it's worth bringing them back for a bottom of the card act, but maybe it is. Let's say if Eric Young's already signed, then you may as well do something with him. And why not with Nikki Cross?
I know he's not Impact anymore. I know he's not wrestling elsewhere. And what I heard was he signed a WWE deal last year. When Triple H was bringing loads of people back. But they were waiting because Chelsea Green was signed way before she appeared. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know if plans have been scrapped and he's just sitting there. I don't know. Sometimes it happens. And then, do you remember when Davey Boy Smith Jr. re-signed and he did a promo and then that was it?
Yeah.
Released. But I have no idea sometimes what's going on with these people.
I mean, it also Stevenson to appear when he was drafted to Raw last year.
Yeah.
And he appeared at Mania, and we just don't see him. That's such a mystery to me.
His brother will reach the main roster before he does.
Yeah, why not put him on NXT with Damon Kemp in a tag team? I just do something with him. I don't really get it unless because I think they were waiting for his he was doing like professional, like proper wrestling. He was doing that for a bit, and I think they were waiting for that to finish, and then it finished, and then he just never appeared. So I know that's a proper tangent, Gable Stevenson. But
yeah, it is. But yeah, it's just showing quite a lot of plans have been scrapped and things happen we don't know about, and sometimes it's injury, sometimes it's personal issues, sometimes it's just creative, not having any idea what to do with somebody. Anyway, that's probably about right for this week.
Yeah, I think we've covered
everything we needed to cover. We will have, obviously, Night of Champions is in 2 weeks, just under. So we'll have more predictions coming then. So join our league if you haven't already. Follow us on Twitter @RechargeWrestle for more info there. We had loads of new predictors for the last pay-per-view.
Yeah, great to see, isn't it?
Really nice to see. So yeah, keep them coming if you've started predicting or haven't yet. Feel free to join.
It's never too late to join.
No, it's never too late to join because it's just a bit of fun, really. Anyway.
And I don't think anyone's flying away with it this year. Last year, RM Punk won it by a fair bit, I think. But I don't think this year, there's an obvious...
At the moment, Jack is leading it.
Jack is leading, okay.
I'm second at the moment. But
well,
yeah...
Jack's the one to catch.
Yeah, Jack is the one to catch right now. I haven't put full proper scores up actually yet, but not the actual league table. But yeah, Jack is leading a couple of points, I think. But yeah, like and subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll see you soon. Hopefully, we will have more content coming. We'll have stuff we'll have predictions for Night of Champions. We'll be going to Money in the Bank, slowly creeping up on us. All In will be not that far away as well. We'll be going to the shows, hopefully do some videos. there, and also content before and after. And the predictions, we'll have maybe another AEW video this week if we can. It was good that you did that the other day.
Yeah.
We want to start covering more stuff. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for more coming on the channel.
And we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.